Okay, in this episode we're going to talk quickly about a command that wasn't working in the last episode. Whenever you type in Fossil-scm, it should show you a list of files that have not yet been added to the tracking for the source control. So this time, if we go into source and we create a new file, new file, and we can put in some placeholder text. Oops. And we save. Then if we do Fossil-scm this time, we can see that that now shows up. So we're going to go back to the root directory. So we can see we're in the root of the directory. We can double check that, fossil status, and yes, that is the local root directory. So we want to add that file, and in order to do that we're going to use the shortcut command add remove, and that is going to scan the working directory to see if any files have been added or removed. So when we run that, it's going to find the new file and then add it. So if we do fossil status again, you can see that it shows up on the list of notifications. Now, since the last video, I did make one commit, so things are a little bit different. If we check out the fossil timeline, you can see I added another test file, and this test file is blank. That was added as I was fixing my version of Fossil. The version I was using had an error, nothing to do with the versions that are available from the website. So if you get a version that's official, you won't have any issues. So when we do fossil status, because it shows that a file has been added, it means we can make another commit, another snapshot in time, to say that we added another file. But this time we want to make sure that we're not using the Windows Notepad. We actually want to use a different editor. It can be anything you want. In my case I'm using Sublime Text. And I can actually type that in from any command line on the computer and it will open. But that isn't the default case. Typically, if you haven't added it to your operating system's path, that won't work, and you'd actually have to specify from the root of the drive, which would be C, program files, until you reach the name of the binary. So in order to set the editor for Fossil, you type in Fossil settings, and that gives you a list of all of the available options. The one that we're interested in is editor. So in order to change that, you type in Fossil setting, editor, or it can be settings, either one works. And then you type in the name of the program that you want it to execute as your editor. So in my case, that's just typing in Sublime Text. But if you don't have Sublime Text in your path, then you actually need to put these quotes in, and then you need to specify the path right down to the file name, which would be Sublime Text again. So x86, and you just keep going. And these program files. To wherever you installed it. So in my case, I'm just going to go Sublime Text. And if we do Fossil settings again, you can see, there it is. So now, if I do a commit, it opens up this window instead. So I'm going to type in my message. New editor for commuting things. I'm going to save that, close that, and then I'm going to close the editor because it won't trigger until the actual editor itself is closed. So we do that, we get a new version. This states that we are currently at this snapshot. It uses numbers like this to represent different states of the repository. So if we do fossil timeline, you can see that there it is, our message has been added, and there is the first few numbers of our version. Whenever you want to reference a point in time or a state of the repository, you use these numbers. So for example, if we wanted to go back to when this file wasn't added, we can actually select this. Oops. We can do fossil update to this commit. So if we do fossil status, you can see that we're at the previous version, and you can see that there's actually a child tag, so that shows that there's something coming after this. If we go back here, that file, new file, is actually gone. So let's go back. We do that by doing fossil update trunk, and that brings us back to the latest commit on the trunk branch. And branching is another thing that I'll talk about later on in these videos. So we'll go here, and you can see that the file has reappeared. So it's come back from that database file that's keeping track of all the versions. Alright, now that we've done that, one of the strengths of Fossil is that it has a built-in user interface. So you do like your file operations from the command line, but it also has a lot more built in. So if we type in Fossil UI, it's actually going to turn into like a very small web server, and then it's going to launch your web browser to like a local address. So I'm just going to type that in. Okay, and you can see here it's gone to address localhost, which means like it's looping back to our computer. And if we go back here, you can see that it's listening for web browser requests. So we can go here and you can see that there's a lot of options. So generally you go to setup and config, then you give the project a name, description, things like that. All of this is available from the admin tag here, so that would be that. There is also access to all those settings. So here you can see the Sublime text that we're using is showing up inside editor. And then if you make any changes, you can apply them. The timeline is also available, and it's really quite neat. You can click on each of these dots, and then it will actually show you the differences. So in this case, it's showing us that we deleted a file here. Oh yes, okay. So the difference from here to here is that this file had it and this one doesn't, so it shows up as being deleted. But if we went the other way and click this one first, you can see that we added new file. Now if there was a change between files, as there was here, we can actually see the differences. You can see it said modified, so it's going to show the differences. And now you can see wherever there's a minus sign is something that's been taken out, and anything here has been added in. And the reason that this is showing up twice is because I believe this one has modern line endings, and this one actually has the old style. That was just a conversion that kind of got thrown in. So anyways, so you'd go in, you'd set everything up, and you'd have the ability to change your settings. Okay, and I think that's all that we're going to do for this video, except maybe one extra note about this is when you're done with it, you should close the tab, and then when you come back here, you use Control-C to stop the server. But if that tab were still open, you can still click the buttons, and it would just look like it's not doing anything, because it would be making requests to this server, but you've already shut that server down. Okay, and in the next episode we're going to talk a little bit about how to view and merge changes together, and maybe get a little more into the user interface.